Picture this. You're trapped in quicksand. Your first instinct? Struggle, fight, claw your way out. But the more you resist, the deeper you sink. That's how so many of us live our lives, clinging to things we should have let go of a long time ago. The toxic job, the person who's already walked away emotionally, the need to control everything so nothing can hurt us. We think holding on will save us. But here's the truth. Sometimes holding on is what's drowning us. And I'll be honest, the moment you realize this can feel like your whole world just cracked open. But stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'll show you why letting go is not losing. It's the most powerful thing you'll ever do. The Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." For years, I didn't understand this. I thought letting go meant I had failed, that I was giving up. But life taught me otherwise. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom in motion. It's saying, I trust life more than I trust my fear. And when you finally loosen that grip, you start to see the truth. You're not falling apart, you're falling into place. We live in a world that glorifies control. Plan your life down to the minute. Manifest the exact future you want. Never let go of your goals. But here's the problem. Control is an illusion. Life doesn't work like that. And the more we try to control, the more exhausted we become. When you release control, you start to flow with life instead of fighting it. Think about a leaf floating on a river. It doesn't resist the current, yet it always ends up exactly where it's meant to be. I used to cling to expectations about myself, about others, and when reality didn't match the movie in my head, I'd spiral into frustration and disappointment. One day, I asked myself, what if life doesn't need to match my script to be beautiful? That single question changed everything. When you release expectations, you stop waging war against reality. You start to see the lessons hidden in what's happening right now. Letting go isn't just about events, it's about people, identities, and the stories we tell ourselves. We hold on to who we think we are, our titles, our roles, our achievements. But identities change, and if we cling too tightly, we suffer. The moment you realize you can love without owning, give without expecting, and care without controlling, you unlock a freedom you didn't even know existed. Right now, think about the thing you're gripping the hardest in your life. What if just for a moment, you loosened your hold? What would happen if you trusted that life could catch you? Because here's the truth. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It's giving yourself permission to stop carrying what was never meant to be yours forever. The path of letting go isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the peace that was always inside you, hidden beneath all the noise. You can't control the river, but you can let go of the rock. And when you do, you won't sink. You'll float. You'll breathe. You'll finally feel free. Part 1. Letting go of control. I used to believe I could control everything. My career, my relationships, even the way people saw me. I had color-coded schedules, backup plans for my backup plans, and this constant voice in my head saying, if you can just hold it all together, everything will be okay. But you know what happened? The harder I tried to hold on, the more life slipped through my fingers. One by one, the things I thought I could control shifted. The promotion I planned for went to someone else. The person I loved decided to walk away. Even my own health threw me a curveball I didn't see coming. It felt unfair. It felt personal. And it left me asking the same question you might be asking right now. If I can't control life, then what's the point? Here's the thing. Control is an illusion. And the more you chase it, the more it drains you. Think about it. How many times have you laid awake at night replaying conversations in your head, trying to predict how things will turn out? It's exhausting. But life doesn't work on our timelines. It's not a machine we can program. It's a river, and the river flows with or without our permission. I once met an old monk who told me, if you try to control the river, you will drown. But if you let the current carry you, you will see the beauty along the way. At first, I thought he meant I should just do nothing. But that's not it. Letting go of control doesn't mean becoming passive. It means staying present enough to respond to life as it is, rather than trying to force it to be what it's not. It's about trading the question, how do I make this happen? For how can I work with what's here? Think about a surfer. They don't control the ocean. They can't command the waves to rise or fall. But they can learn to read them, adapt to them, and ride them when the time is right. That's what life asks of us. Not to be the engineer of every single detail, but to be the surfer who dances with whatever comes. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Trying to control everything isn't just stressful. It's rooted in fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of loss. Fear that without our grip, life will collapse. But here's the paradox. When you loosen your grip, life actually opens up. When you stop forcing things, you create space for better possibilities to show up. Opportunities you never planned for. Connections you never could have scheduled. I remember a time I lost a job I thought defined me. For months, I tried to claw my way back into that same industry, that same role. But every door I knocked on stayed shut. Finally, out of sheer exhaustion, I stopped pushing. 2 weeks later, a friend introduced me to a completely different line of work. It didn't fit my old plan at all, but it turned out to be the most fulfilling chapter of my career. If I'd stayed obsessed with controlling the old plan, I would have missed the life that was trying to meet me halfway. So here's my challenge to you. What's one thing in your life right now that you're gripping too tightly? A relationship? A goal? An image of who you think you should be? What if just for today, you let go of the need to force it? Not forever. Just long enough to see what happens when you stop pushing. Buddhism teaches that clinging creates suffering. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. So maybe the real strength isn't in controlling life, it's in trusting life. Trusting that even if you're not steering every second, the river still knows where it's going. And maybe, just maybe, its destination is more beautiful than anything you could have planned. I can already imagine the next section will transition smoothly into the next letting go theme in your video series, while keeping the viewer hooked for the full runtime. Part 2. Letting go of expectations. I used to have a picture in my head of how life was supposed to be. The perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect version of me. I thought if I worked hard enough, if I checked all the right boxes, reality would match that picture. But here's the thing no one tells you. That picture, it becomes a chain, an invisible one. And every time reality looks different from the image in your head, it tightens around you. I remember planning a birthday years ago for someone I loved. I imagined the laughter, the surprise on their face, the warmth of the evening. I spent weeks preparing down to the smallest detail. But when the night came, they weren't in the mood to celebrate. They'd had a rough day, and the smile I was expecting never showed up. And there I was hurt. Not because they did something wrong, but because reality didn't match the script I had written in my mind. That's what expectations do. They set us up to suffer twice. Once, when life simply unfolds in its own way, and again when we resist it because it's not the way we wanted. The Buddha taught that clinging to how we think things should be is one of the roots of suffering. It's like holding onto a photograph while the real moment is happening right in front of you and missing it entirely. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't about giving up on dreams or lowering your standards. It's about loosening the grip on the outcome. It's the difference between planting a seed and demanding it grow into a rose in exactly 30 days, versus planting it, watering it, and letting it grow into whatever it's meant to be. I've met people who say, "But if I don't expect anything, won't I stop caring?" And I tell them, you'll care more. Because without the rigid picture in your head, you can finally see life for what it really is. You can appreciate the unexpected ways it shows up for you. You can love people for who they are, not for the role you imagine them playing. Think about a trip you've taken. Maybe you had a detailed itinerary, but the best memory ended up being something unplanned. A random conversation with a stranger. A hidden cafe you stumbled upon. A sunset you almost missed because you took a wrong turn. That's what happens when you stop chaining yourself to expectations. You make space for surprises, for joy you couldn't have scripted. I once heard a Zen master say, "The river doesn't ask the mountain to move. It simply finds its way around it." Life is that river, and expectations are the mountains we keep trying to push out of the way. But when you stop pushing and start flowing, you realize the journey is still beautiful. Sometimes, even more so than the one you planned. So here's my invitation to you. Think of one place in your life right now where your expectations are hurting you. Maybe it's in your career. Maybe it's in love. Maybe it's with yourself. Ask yourself, what would it feel like if I showed up fully, but let go of needing it to look a certain way? I'm not saying it's easy. Your mind will want to grab onto the old picture. It'll whisper, "But I need it to turn out like this, or I won't be happy." When that happens, breathe. Remind yourself, life has been unfolding for billions of years without your script. And yet, here you are, breathing, learning, still on the journey. Letting go of expectations is not about becoming detached from life. It's about becoming deeply engaged with life. It's about trading the narrow lens of how it should be for the wide-open view of what is. And when you do that, you might just discover that reality, in all its imperfections, was never here to hurt you. It was here to surprise you. If you're ready to step into that kind of freedom, it starts with loosening your grip on the picture in your head and opening your arms to the moment in front of you. Because that moment, it's the only one that's real. Part 3. Letting go of resistance. I used to fight life. Not in the obvious way, no fists, no shouting matches. But inside, every time something happened that I didn't want, my mind would push back. Like waves crashing against a rock. A flat tire on the way to work. A friend canceling plans last minute. A phone call with bad news. And in my head, the same question over and over. Why is this happening to me? The thing is, that question never brought me peace. It only kept me stuck in the story that life was my enemy. One day, I heard a Buddhist teacher say, "When you resist reality, you are at war with the present moment, and the present moment always wins." That hit me hard. Because if I'm honest, most of my suffering wasn't from the event itself. It was from my fight against it. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I lost a big client in my business unexpectedly. One day we were fine. The next, they were gone. My first reaction? Anger. Then fear. Then the endless loop of, "This shouldn't have happened. It's not fair." For weeks, I carried that weight. Every time I thought about it, my chest tightened. Not because the situation was still hurting me, but because I kept resisting the fact that it had already happened. And then one morning, sitting with my coffee, a different question appeared in my mind. What is this trying to teach me? It was small, almost a whisper, but it shifted everything. Suddenly, instead of a closed door, I saw a doorway. I started asking, was this loss clearing space for something better? Was it teaching me resilience? Was it showing me where I'd gotten too comfortable? That's the thing about acceptance. It's not giving up. It's not saying, I like this, or I wanted this. It's simply unclenching your fist long enough to see what's actually in your hand. Resistance is a battle you can't win, because reality doesn't negotiate. But when you lay down the fight, peace has room to walk in. I know, some people hear acceptance and think it means passivity. Like if I accept this, I'm just going to let bad things happen. But that's not what I'm talking about. Acceptance is facing reality, not resigning to it. It's saying, this is where I am. Now, what's my next wise step? When a storm comes, the tree that survives isn't the stiff one. It's the one that bends. Not because it's weak, but because it's smart enough to work with the wind, not against it. Look back at your own life. How many times have you wasted days, weeks, maybe even years resisting something that had already happened? Did that resistance make the pain go away? Or did it just keep the wound open longer? When I finally accepted losing that client, I freed up my energy to focus on finding new opportunities. And guess what? Within a month, I landed a project that not only paid more, but aligned better with the kind of work I actually wanted to do. That door wouldn't have opened if I had stayed busy banging on the one that closed. Here's the shift I want you to try. The next time you catch yourself thinking, why is this happening to me? Pause, take a breath, and instead ask, what is this here to teach me? That single question turns life from an opponent into a teacher. It doesn't erase the pain, but it gives the pain purpose. And sometimes, the lesson isn't about fixing anything. Sometimes, it's about learning to sit with what is, without turning it into an enemy. Because when you stop fighting reality, you start making peace with yourself. So here's my invitation. Today, think about one thing in your life you've been resisting. It could be a change in your career, a loss, a truth about yourself you haven't wanted to face. And instead of asking, why me? Ask, what now? That's not giving up. That's stepping into the only place real power exists, the present moment. Because the present moment isn't your enemy. It's your starting point. And the sooner you stop resisting it, the sooner life can start moving again. Part 4. Letting go of attachment. I want to tell you a truth that took me years to learn. Most of the pain we carry doesn't come from what life takes away. It comes from how tightly we hold on. We hold on to people. We hold on to things. We even hold on to who we think we are. We cling, believing it will keep us safe. But it doesn't. It just makes the moment change feel like heartbreak. I remember a relationship I had in my 20s. We were in love, but my love wasn't free. It was full of conditions, silent rules in my head about how this person should act, how they should speak, how they should make me feel. Every time they didn't fit that picture, I felt hurt. Not because they were unkind, but because I was attached to an idea. An idea of them. An idea of us. Attachment is tricky like that. It disguises itself as love, but underneath it's really fear. Fear of loss. Fear of change. And here's the truth that rattles us. Everything changes. Everyone changes. Nothing, not even this version of you watching this right now, stays the same. Buddha called it impermanence. And if we fight it, we suffer. Think about it. How many times have you kept something, not because it served you, but because you couldn't stand the thought of letting it go? That old jacket, that friendship that stopped feeling alive years ago. That title at work you cling to, even though it's burning you out. A friend of mine once had this beautiful leather journal. It was a gift from her father. She loved it so much she never wrote in it, afraid her messy handwriting would ruin it. Years later, when she finally opened it again, the leather had cracked, the pages had yellowed, unused, untouched. She told me she realized her attachment to keeping it perfect had cost her the very joy it was meant to give. Attachment robs us twice. First, it steals the present because we're too afraid to enjoy what we have. Then, when life inevitably changes, it takes that thing from us anyway, leaving us with regret on top of loss. So what's the alternative? Love without ownership. Give without keeping score. Hold someone's hand without trying to hold their wings. It's like watching a sunset. You don't try to trap it in a jar. You don't shout at the sky, "Stay like this forever." You simply stand there, let it take your breath away, and let it go when it fades. When you love like that, you're not numb. You actually feel more. Because your heart isn't busy bracing for the moment, it all disappears. You're here, fully alive in the now. If you want to practice this, here's something simple I do. The next time you find yourself clinging to something, a person, a possession, even an image of yourself, pause and ask, if this were gone tomorrow, how would I wish I had treated it today? Almost always the answer is, I'd appreciate it more. I'd stop trying to control it. I'd enjoy it as it is, right now. That's what freedom in love feels like. It's not cold or detached. It's warm, but it's not afraid. It's generous, but it doesn't demand. It's knowing the most beautiful things in life are borrowed, not owned, and that the joy is in the borrowing. So maybe today, take one small step. Loosen your grip on something. Tell someone you love them without expecting the same words back. Use the good dishes for no reason. Write in the fancy journal. Don't just save the best for later. Later is never guaranteed. Because the moment you stop clinging is the moment your love becomes free. And that's the kind of love the world needs more of. Part 5. Letting go of the need to be understood. There's a quiet kind of freedom most people never experience. It's the freedom that comes when you stop needing everyone to understand you. For years, I lived with this invisible weight on my shoulders. Every time I shared an idea, I wanted people to nod. Every time I made a choice, I hoped they'd agree. And when they didn't, I'd twist myself into knots trying to explain, trying to prove that my heart was in the right place. The truth is, not everyone will get you. Not everyone can. Some people aren't even trying. And that's not a judgment, it's just reality. Because every person is living inside their own world, built from their experiences, fears, and dreams. Sometimes your truth doesn't fit their world, and that's okay. I think back to when I told my family I was leaving my stable job to follow a calling that didn't make sense to them. They looked at me like I was throwing my life away. I wanted to convince them, to show them spreadsheets and plans and timelines so they'd see what I saw. But then I realized something. I didn't actually need them to see it. I just needed to keep walking the path that was true for me. Buddhist wisdom says, if you want to be free, Stop trying to control what's outside you. The need to be understood is a kind of control. It's a way of saying, I can't be okay unless you see me exactly as I am. But if your peace depends on someone else's perception, you're handing them the keys to your happiness. Here's the irony. The more you chase validation, the less authentic you become. You start editing yourself, watering down your truth so it's easier for others to swallow. And little by little, you disappear from your own life. When you let go of the need to be understood, you stop performing. You start living. You speak because it's what you believe, not because it's what will get applause. You choose because it's right for your soul, not because it will get approval. I'm not saying it's easy. We're wired to want connection. We're wired to want to be seen. But here's the shift. Being seen by everyone isn't the goal. Being seen by the right people, the ones who truly matter, is enough. And often, those people only find you when you stop hiding behind the mask of trying to please. A friend once told me, stop explaining. The people who truly care don't need it. The people who demand it will never believe it. That line changed me, because it reminded me that peace isn't found in perfect explanations. It's found in living a life that feels honest, whether others approve or not. So how do you practice letting go of this need? First, notice when you're defending yourself unnecessarily. Ask, am I sharing this because it's true for me, or because I'm desperate for them to see it my way? Second, sit with the discomfort of being misunderstood. Breathe through it. Remind yourself, you can survive without their agreement. Third, find your anchor, whether it's a journal, meditation, or a few trusted friends, so your sense of self comes from within, not from the shifting opinions around you. When you stop needing everyone to understand you, you'll feel lighter. You'll take risks you never took before. You'll speak truths you used to swallow. And here's the beautiful part. Some people will still misunderstand you, but it won't shake you anymore, because you'll know the truth. And that's enough. In the end, peace doesn't come from everyone agreeing with you. It comes from looking in the mirror and knowing you're living your truth, even if the world never fully understands it. Part 6. Letting go of the ego. There's a moment in life when you realize the biggest wall between you and true connection isn't other people. It's your own ego. For years, I thought being right meant I was strong, that winning arguments, proving my point, or showing I knew more would somehow earn me respect. And sometimes, it did on the surface. People might nod. They might even admire you for a moment. But deep down, I felt lonely, because the more I tried to be the one who's right, the more distance I created between myself and the people I loved. Ego is sneaky. It wears a mask of confidence, but underneath, it's fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being seen as less. Fear of losing control. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the self we're defending so fiercely is often just an illusion. The I we're protecting isn't who we really are. It's a story we've built to feel safe. I remember a time I was having a heated conversation with a close friend. We were on opposite sides of an issue, and I was certain I had the facts, the logic, the moral high ground. I fought hard to prove it. By the end, I won the debate, but I lost the connection. That night, lying in bed, I kept replaying it in my head, and a question came up. What's the point of being right if I end up alone in my victory? When you drop the need to be right, something incredible happens. The tension in your chest softens. You listen more than you speak. You start hearing what's behind people's words, the fears, the hopes, the pain they can't always say out loud. And in that space, real connection grows. Here's the hard truth. Ego makes us wear armor. But that armor doesn't just keep others out, it keeps us trapped inside. When we dare to take it off, we don't become weak. We become free. So how do you let go of ego in everyday life? First, catch yourself in those moments when you're fighting to be seen as better or right. Pause. Ask, am I protecting my truth or just protecting my pride? Second, practice humility, not the kind where you put yourself down, but the kind where you remember you're part of something bigger than just me. Third, replace competition with curiosity. Instead of trying to outshine someone, try to understand them. Instead of proving you're right, explore what you might learn. The most peaceful people I've met aren't the ones who've never been challenged. They're the ones who no longer need to win every challenge. They've traded the trophy for the truth. And the truth is simple. When we let go of ego, we make room for love. Love for others. Love for ourselves. Love for the present moment. One of my favorite Buddhist sayings goes, "When the I is gone, peace remains." When I first heard that, I thought it was poetic. Now, I know it's practical. Because every time I drop my ego, even just a little, life feels lighter. Conversations feel easier. Relationships feel warmer. So next time you're in a disagreement or tempted to prove yourself, try letting the ego step aside. Not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing something better. Connection over control. Peace over pride. Understanding over victory. In the end, letting go of ego isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding the self that's been there all along. The one that doesn't need to be more to be enough. Part 7. Letting go of the past. There's something heavy I used to carry. It wasn't in my hands. It was in my heart. The past. We all have one. Moments we wish had gone differently. Words we wish we hadn't said. People we wish had treated us better. And maybe you know what it feels like to replay the same scene in your mind 1,000 times, trying to rewrite it, as if thinking about it long enough could somehow change what happened. But it never does. The past is like a shadow. It follows you only if you keep walking with your back to the light. I once heard someone say, holding on to the past is like dragging a bag full of broken glass. And they were right. The more you hold it, the more it cuts you. Every sharp memory digs deeper until you can't even feel the joy of the present moment because your hands are too busy holding pain. I remember a time I held on to a betrayal for years. I told myself I was over it, but whenever that person's name came up, my chest would tighten, my breath would shorten. I thought I was protecting myself, but really, I was just protecting the wound. Buddhist wisdom teaches that nothing in this life is permanent. The past isn't permanent either. It's not a prison you're locked inside, unless you keep turning the key yourself. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's about choosing not to let it define you anymore. It's about taking back the power you gave to that moment or that person. And sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Think about it. How many times have you beaten yourself up over something you did years ago? How many times have you replayed a mistake in your head, even though you've already learned from it? What if, instead of punishing yourself for who you were, you honored yourself for who you've become since then? Letting go of the past doesn't erase your story. It frees you to write the next chapter. But here's the truth. You can't move forward if both of your hands are clinging to what's behind you. You have to release one to reach for the other. For me, the moment I forgave, not just the person who hurt me, but also myself for holding on to the hurt. It felt like opening a window after years in a locked room. The air felt lighter. The world looked brighter. It wasn't that the past disappeared. It's just that it no longer owned me. So if you're carrying something heavy today, ask yourself, is this helping me or is it just hurting me? If it's only hurting you, you have permission to put it down. Forgive them. Forgive yourself. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. When you let go, you're not losing. You're winning your freedom. One of my favorite teachings says, you can't step into the same river twice, because the water has moved on, and so have you. The past is already gone. The future hasn't yet arrived. All you truly have is this moment, and the choice to live it free. So maybe today's the day you set the bag of broken glass down. You'll find your hands are free again. Free to create, to hold, to embrace what's here, right now. And maybe, just maybe, you'll discover that the lightness you've been searching for was waiting for you all along, on the other side of letting go. Part 8. Letting go of comparison. I want to tell you a secret that took me years to learn. The quickest way to drain your happiness is to compare your life to someone else's. I didn't realize I was doing it at first. Scrolling through social media, seeing friends buy houses, travel the world, post photos with perfect smiles. And I'd think, I'm behind. I should be there by now. Maybe you've felt that too. It's almost like there's this invisible race, and everyone else is ahead of you. But here's the truth. There is no race. There's only your path and their path, and they are not the same road. In Buddhist teachings, there's this beautiful idea. A flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. If a rose tried to compare itself to a sunflower, it would miss the simple miracle of being a rose. When I was younger, I used to measure my worth by milestones. The job title, the salary, the relationship status. And if someone my age had more, I'd quietly question if I was enough. But comparison is a thief. It doesn't just take your joy. It robs you of seeing your own growth. One day, an older friend said something I'll never forget. Your life has its own rhythm, and if you rush it to match someone else's beat, you'll miss the music that was written just for you. It hit me. I was so busy trying to catch up that I hadn't noticed how far I'd already come. Think about it. Have you ever looked back at yourself 5 years ago and realized you've grown in ways you never imagined? That growth didn't happen because you copied someone else's life. It happened because you lived your own. Comparison is tricky because it hides as motivation. You tell yourself, I just want to be inspired by them. But if you're not careful, inspiration turns into self-judgment, and self-judgment turns into shame. The way out isn't about ignoring other people's success. It's about respecting it without letting it define yours. Their chapter 20 doesn't make your chapter 5 less important. Their highlight reel doesn't erase the beauty of your behind the scenes. Here's something practical that helped me. Whenever I caught myself comparing, I'd pause and ask, what's one thing in my life right now that I'm grateful for? Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's here. And when you focus on what's here, you realize it's enough. Buddhist wisdom often reminds us that suffering begins when we resist what is. Comparison is resistance in disguise. It says, I should be somewhere else. I should be someone else. But when you accept where you are, you make peace with yourself. And from that peace, you can grow naturally, without the heavy weight of not enough on your back. I'm not saying it's easy. We live in a world that constantly shouts, look at them, be like them. But here's the quiet truth. You're not meant to be them. You're meant to be you. And that is already enough. Imagine walking your own path, looking up at the trees, feeling the air, instead of staring at someone else's footsteps. Imagine the freedom of not measuring your life by anyone else's ruler. That's what happens when you let go of comparison. Your mind feels lighter. Your heart feels calmer. And suddenly, you have the space to bloom in your own season. So today, maybe try this. The next time you feel the pull to compare, stop and remind yourself, I am on my own path. I am enough. My timing is my own. Because the truth is, when you stop comparing, you start living. Part 9. Letting go of the rush. I used to live like I was constantly late for something. Even when I had nowhere to be, my mind was racing, always thinking about the next thing. Wake up, check the phone, rush, breakfast, work, emails, deadlines. Even my weekends felt like a schedule I had to win. Maybe you know that feeling. Like you're sprinting through life, but you don't even know where the finish line is. One afternoon, it hit me. I was walking through the park, and I noticed an older man sitting on a bench. He wasn't doing anything. No phone in hand, no book. Just watching the wind move through the trees. And the way he sat there, calm, unhurried, it made me realize something uncomfortable. I couldn't remember the last time I simply stopped. In Buddhist teachings, there's a saying, when you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat. It sounds simple, but in our world, it's almost radical. Because most of us aren't walking, we're rushing to get somewhere. We're not eating, we're scrolling, texting, planning the next task. We're here physically, but mentally, we're already 3 steps ahead. I used to think moving fast meant I was productive, that it was the only way to make it in life. But the truth? When you're always racing, you miss the beauty that's right in front of you. The smile from a stranger, the sound of rain, the way your coffee smells in the morning. These moments are the quiet treasures of life, but you can only find them when you slow down. I remember one morning, I forced myself to leave my phone at home and just walk to the corner cafe. No music, no calls, no rush. At first, it was uncomfortable, like my brain was itching to do something. But then, I noticed the way sunlight hit the leaves. I smelled fresh bread from the bakery. I heard the sound of kids laughing from a schoolyard nearby. And for a moment, my mind felt still. It wasn't empty. It was full of the present. Slowing down doesn't mean you're falling behind. It means you're stepping into the only moment that's real, right now. In Buddhism, they call it mindfulness. It's not about escaping life. It's about coming back to it, fully. But here's the hard part. We've been trained to believe our worth is tied to how much we do. If we're not rushing, we feel guilty. If we're not achieving, we feel lazy. The real challenge isn't slowing down. It's allowing yourself to believe that slowing down is okay. So here's something you can try today. Find one small thing you usually rush through. Drinking your morning coffee, washing your hands, taking a short walk, and do it slowly. Notice the details, the sound, the scent, the texture. Breathe deeply. Let yourself be there completely. At first, it might feel strange. Your mind will try to pull you back into the race. But each time you return to the present, you're choosing peace over pressure. And the more you practice, the more you realize life isn't meant to be a finish line you're desperate to cross. It's meant to be lived, step by step, breath by breath. When we let go of the rush, something magical happens. We begin to see life not as a checklist, but as a series of precious, unrepeatable moments. And those moments, they're not waiting for us at the end of the race. They're happening right here, right now. So maybe today, just pause, breathe in, breathe out, and remember, the present moment isn't just a place to pass through. It's home. Closing. Letting go is not losing. People often think letting go means giving up, that if you release something, you lose it. But the truth is, letting go is not loss. It's liberation. It's the moment you stop clenching your fists so tightly and realize you were holding onto a rope that was burning your hands. Letting go is not about being careless. It's about caring enough for yourself to stop carrying what is too heavy. It's a shift from control to acceptance, from gripping to opening, from noise to stillness. I've learned that holding on often feels safer because it gives us the illusion we're in charge. We think, if I just try harder, push more, plan better, I can keep everything the way I want it. But life doesn't work like that. It never has. Sometimes, the more we try to control, the more we suffer. We hold on to relationships long past their time, dreams that no longer fit who we are, and even versions of ourselves we've outgrown. We cling because we're afraid of the emptiness that might come after. But here's what I discovered. When you truly let go, that emptiness isn't a void, it's space. And in that space, something new can finally arrive. In Buddhist teachings, there's an image I love. You're in a river, holding onto a rock for dear life. You think the current will sweep you away. But when you finally release the rock, you realize the water carries you gently forward. You were never drowning. You were resisting the flow. Letting go doesn't make you fall. It allows you to rise, like a balloon slipping free of a hand. It doesn't plummet. It soars. Think about the times in your life when you finally release something. A job, a toxic friendship, an old regret. At first, there's fear, then breath, then lightness. You start to see yourself more clearly. You have room to grow again. You notice moments you couldn't before because your hands, your heart, your mind are no longer full of what was weighing you down. So maybe letting go is not an ending at all. Maybe it's a beginning you couldn't step into while you were holding on. And maybe the real question isn't, what will I lose if I let go? But, what might I gain if I do? If you've been gripping something so tightly, a person, a past, a plan, perhaps today is the day you loosen your hand, take a deep breath, and trust the current. Because freedom isn't found in the things we keep. It's found in the space we make when we release them. And if this makes you think of someone, a friend, a family member, someone you've seen carrying a heavy rope for too long, maybe share this with them. They might just be ready to see that letting go is not falling. It's flying.